So I'm one of the co-founders of Firefly, and our mission is to make it simple for students and teachers and parents to create, share and learn online. And we are we're a tech startup. Our software is trusted now by a few hundred schools around the world, including, I'm proud to say, Preston Manor, who took a chance on us early on. So thank you for that. I hope that you think it's making a difference to you. I just wanted to share a little bit of our story about how we got here, because it's slightly unusual, and perhaps a few of the lessons that we learnt along the way. So this is the obligatory school photo from when I was 14. This is me and my co-founder Joe. So we wrote the very first version of this when we were at school studying for our GCSEs. And it was really to solve our own problems. We never imagined this going outside our own school, but we were frustrated because the internet was starting to take off and make it really easy to access a world of information from anywhere, apart from information about school. And I remember being fed up at having to cycle in when I was meant to be on study leave to pick out handouts or give in work, and thinking there had to be an easier way than this. I was kind of surveying the chaos of notes on my bedroom floor at revision time, and thinking it would be really great if we could get to this stuff online. But unfortunately, only the really technical teachers were able to put anything up. So our idea back then was, if we can make it really simple for the teachers who aren't IT experts and don't necessarily want to be IT experts to share things online, whether that was teaching resources with each other or homework with us or news with our parents, then maybe we could help build a website that was useful for our own school. And we thought that that was as far as it would go. So we wrote the first version of this thing. And it started to get used. And initially our teachers were really pretty apprehensive about relying on something that was written by students. And I think one of the challenges that we had throughout the kind of early years of Firefly was being taken seriously when we were still pretty young. So I'm pretty grateful to the people who did take a chance on us back then. But by the time we were at the end of our school career, we were being pulled out of lessons to answer questions and fix things and try and develop it further. And we went off to university. The school was pretty dependent on it at this point, and they said, will you keep on supporting this for us? Which we did. I went on and did a PhD in computer science. I worked in the city for a bit for a major investment bank, and all the time we were developing this as a hobby, really, evenings, weekends, because it was fun, because we were interested, and because it seemed to be making a difference, at least to our school still. And it kind of grew through word of mouth, so another school saw it and asked what it was. They started using it, until eventually we got to the point where there were about 30 schools or so using it. We were answering telephone calls on the trading floor, trying to deal with school questions. And it was kind of becoming a full-time business for us, whether we wanted it or not. So at that point, Joe and I both left our jobs at banks to run Firefly full-time, and it's been growing pretty quickly since then. So we've been kind of doubling year on year in any number you choose to look at, so numbers of schools, revenue, number of team members. So we're up to 40 people or so at our office in Hammersmith now. We're working with schools in 15 countries around the world, and we're just about to open our first office in overseas in Sydney in the new year, which we're quite excited about. So this is part of a kind of bigger vision for us to see software make a real difference to educational outcomes as well as experiences. You know, we hope that we're making a difference in the schools that we are working with. You can all tell me later if you agree. And we're really motivated by having that impact on more and more teachers and students. But I think it's worth saying that we didn't start off that way. We didn't sit there at 16 with a big dream to change the way that the online learning was happening. It's been a pretty gradual process. It's been step by step. And you can only really see kind of more of the potential of this as you go along. So when I was at school, I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I think it's worth saying, I think that's fine. You know, I guess some of you probably do have a really clear idea and a path that you're on. And that's amazing, you're lucky, but I think a lot of people don't. And I think that's okay. So this is a photo of the moment when the first computer beat a grandmaster at chess. And the way it was doing that was by evaluating 200 million possible positions every second. And clearly we can't do that. But if you're not sure what you want to do, I think a strategy that has worked for me at least is trying to keep your options open. So picking the move that will give you the most possible places to go next time. And as you're doing that, I think you've got to be prepared to jump at chances that come along, because you never know which decision you make is going to have really important consequences for you later on. Firefly is called Firefly because we were sat in a physics lab thinking it needs a name, and we looked outside and saw this bike that said Firefly on it and thought that will do. I wish I had a better story for this. If I'd intended it to be a business, I would have picked something I could have got the trademark and the .com for. But I think you never know which decisions are going to be the ones that matter to you. So you've got to be prepared to just embrace serendipity and go along with that kind of thing. So all of the people who spoke to me when I was at school and had done inspirational things with their careers, I sometimes got the impression that this has all been a carefully planned journey, and that they knew from day one where they were trying to get to, and it was a kind of nice, clear path that they just kept on marching along. But I think, you know, straight roads like this only really work when the ground is flat, and as soon as you're trying to go uphill, the road needs to start doubling back on itself to make progress. And I think that's true for most of us as well. So I think most of the successful businesses and business people that I know actually have changed tack a lot of different times. I think if you realize that the direction you're going in is not working or is not getting you where you want to be, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to change. In fact, in Silicon Valley startup culture, they call this pivoting. So a lot of companies end up actually doing something quite different to what they originally set out to do as they kind of discover more about what they're good at and what excites them as they go along. But it's about not being too proud to say, actually, I got that wrong. I'm going to change my mind. I think there's a real problem sometimes that people are afraid to try things because they're worried that they might fail. I think we're sometimes scared to take that first step, whether it's quitting our job, going out on our own, because we're worried about the kind of possible downsides if it doesn't work out. And all I would say to you guys is that there is no better time than this. You know, you will become more risk averse as you get older and have more commitments. So I'd like to encourage some of you to think about starting your own business, going into tech, things like that. I'm happy to chat to any of you about it if it's something you're interested in. But I'll just leave you with the question, what is it that you are afraid to try at the moment in case you fail? Thank you.